I think that's enough of that, don't you? All right, guys, welcome to Between the Numbers, right? On a Friday, because we have to be between the numbers, because I'm between a snowstorm. And in a little bit, I'm going to have to go and get the last of my stuff together here. I over prepare, but there's nothing wrong with over preparing for for anything. One thing about these southern states, if you're from the north, they don't know how to handle this weather. All right. So if you're like a migrant like me, a state to state migrant, you have to make sure that you are well prepared because they are not. All right. All right. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and to share them far and wide. I am in the worst part of the storm, and it's kind of annoying for those of you guys on locals. My daughter is a competitive dancer, and they're crazy, and they didn't cancel this event, which is getting quite a bit of snow. So my wife and my daughter are going to be, unfortunately, trapped. There's no way around it. They'll be trapped for like 2 days, and I'll have to build a snowstorm with a snowman with a little one all by myself. Which I have to go get him in a little bit too, and then we're gonna go around and do the big boy thing. Let's prepare for the storm like big boys do. Be fun. All right. In the meantime, there's a lot going on. They still have not restored the data sets. I have figured out what happened. We are aware of what happened. There are backups, so I'm waiting for them to restore the backups, and then the crosstabs will be up. From now on, what we will do, because of, I guess, losers who have nothing better to do with their time, what we will do is make the interactive crosstab links the way that we always do. And then we will download the crosstab. They're ugly. That's the reason we don't do it like that anymore. They're ugly and they're big. And when they're that big, they're difficult to really get a grasp on. So we'll make Google Sheet backups for each crosstab. All right. It's going to look different if we have to rely on them. The interactives online are the best. I mean, you get to select between the row and the column and whatever you want to do. What is a shame is that, of course, I memorize a lot, but I can't memorize everything for every month. So I really wanted to get this at least to locals, and I just asked them for an update. It's been plenty of time. Restore the backups already. This is annoying to me. Let's see. Actually, no, that's not them. Okay, so I thought they actually just got back to me. We may wind up moving to a different system. It just depends on whether or not they have something for me that is conducive to how I share results with you guys. I like online stuff for you guys. The days of top line PDFs for polls are over. I don't know how any pollster gets away with it, let alone thinks they should or can get away with it. All of the juicy details, all of the important stuff you will find at the granular level of research data. Top lines, I'm not saying they're not worth anything, but they don't tell you the whole story, which is why we call the main show Inside the Numbers. That is the point, to try to explain and teach to people not to look at those top lines. The top line is what the pollster wants you to see. And unfortunately, in my industry, it's like 99% corrupt. All right. I'm trying to teach you to look below the surface so you can better understand what it is that pollster's trying to present to you, regardless of what they think the top line should be. All right. So they're looking inside the numbers, and they're interpreting what they think that means. And then they give you a top line they believe is correct. And so many pollsters, even in 24, they had the right idea below the surface. They interpreted it incorrectly. Same thing happened in 2016, by the way. 2020 was just awful. It was just awful. COVID made it awful. Some people were just extremely dishonest, collected really bad data, didn't throw it out, right? Or continue. The real ideal situation is, when you collect bad data, is to continue in the field until you get accurate, representative data. But they didn't do that because it costs more money, and that's it. If we have time, I want to go over something I was talking about yesterday about Pew Research and that poll that came out, because Trump is not in the 30s. But I don't want you to throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is something a little bit different. It's not a great example of what I was just saying. I mean, it is, but there's something more to it when it comes to Pew Research. The the research they're doing in, for instance, the pre-election 24 poll that they released, which wasn't terrible, is a completely different methodology than the one that they are using now for the poll that they just conducted. The post-election voter validated surveys that they do every election, well, every midterm and general presidential election, that is done with a total different methodology and being practiced. So there is an explanation to why Pew found what they found. However, I think it's exaggerated, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't take it seriously, because some of the things that they did identify are in fact very, very real. And I was going to start there, but I don't want to. I want to start first with, you know what, we got to get a little more human interest stuff once in a while, especially in a between the numbers. And for those of you who are my age, I mean, she's the classic mom, and it is worth, celebrating a life any chance you get, even if they don't agree with you politically. You shouldn't really have anything, honestly, to do about it when it comes to whether or not these people entertained you or made you feel good about, yourself, your life, whatever it is. Like, that's what the humanities are. They're an expression of the uniqueness of the human species, and an expression of our creativity and our range of emotions and all of that, right? So it should be different and should be set aside. So obviously I'm talking about the death of Catherine O'Hara here. She is the quintessential movie mom of the era. That's Macaulay Culkin next to him, obviously. And she passed away. She wasn't really that old. 71's not that old anymore in this day and age. I think it was like unexpected to some people who didn't know what was going on. But she was the mom from Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin's mom. And, I have a clip that I wanted to play because I actually think it's from a bygone era. They're both gone. We are missing both these people now. And it's just a great scene. So here she is with John Candy, who was one of my all-time favorites back in the day in the 80s and 90s. This is from Home Alone back in the day.
Have you ever gone on vacation and left your child home?
No. But I did leave one at a funeral parlor once. Yeah, it was terrible, too. I was all distraught and everything, the wife and I. We left the little tyke there in the funeral parlor all day. All day. We went back at night when we came to our senses, and there he was. Apparently he was there alone all day with a corpse. Now, he was okay, after 6-7 weeks. I came around, started talking again. But he's okay. They get over it.
Didn't talk about this.
You brought it up. I was just, trying to cheer you up.
Sorry.
After 6-7 days of not talking, kids are resilient, and that was a big thing from my day. My old man used to say that, and then when I was raising kids myself, we all make mistakes as parents, especially with your first one, which you're like coddling, and you think that every little thing is detrimental. And, by your second kid, they could like fall off a friggin' wall or something. And you're like, get up, shake it off. But your first one, you're always like that very much. Where my old man, every time something would happen, he'd say, Richie, don't worry about it. Kids are resilient. And it's true. I mean, it's true. That's of course a great movie. It's a Christmas special. It's a special. And she's, again, 71 years old and gone. Probably not someone you would have agreed with politically if you're watching a show like Between the Numbers. But if you spend all of your time waiting for an actor or an actress that you agree with, you'll basically be limited to like Ross Voigt and Kevin Sorbo, And Dean Cain, who, by the way, is a really great guy in real life. Dean's a really great guy. I haven't spoke to him in a bit, but we used to speak quite often. Really good guy. I wish he would have ran for the governor of California when I asked him to, but he had a busy life. He's honorary law enforcement, then became law enforcement, and he was good. He was happy with what he was doing, but great guy. What a great guy. All right. Before we get into some of the polling and we get some time to talk about that, and then I'll try to leave some time for your questions at the end. All right. Because Laura will always yell at me when I don't do that enough with you guys. And I'm going to try my best to be better. I think last week I was much better with it. All right. we have to get into this pick. I'll tell you right now, I think it's a shite pick. All right. I don't think it is. Like, I know it is. Can he surprise everybody? Sure. In my experience in this world and in the world of politics, I was in that world, by the way, for the wise asses on Twitter. I was in that world before I was in this world. All right. So do your fucking research before you open your mouth. In this world, you have people who are raised a certain way, almost a certain pedigree, and it is almost impossible for them to change their worldview. And empathy is not something you will find in many of their worldviews. So when you think about monetary or fiscal policy, for that matter, and you think about MAGA, the movement, and what it means, what the difference is, they don't have any of that empathy toward those people that make up the heart and soul of the America First movement. And it's funny because, of course, Warsh, let me just get my facts right here. He is married to Jane Lowder, I believe is her name. Obviously, the daughter of a very prominent Republican donor. His name is Ronnie Lowder, and who, by the way, went to school with Trump at Wharton. All right. Donated $5 million back in March last spring when everything was going off the rails. Remember I told you, and I can bring it up again, when Trump's approval went off the rails, that was in the spring to early summer. That's when what we could say is like foreign and donor interest, big donor interest, definitely derailed the Trump domestic agenda. And why? Why is that? Well, not for nothing. It's impossible not to say this. And it's like people have everybody sounding like Nick Fuentes these days, but it's just a fact. I mean, you can't separate some of this stuff. The ceasefire in the Gaza Strip was coming to an end, and the administration was getting lobbied on behalf of a lot of, let's just call it Israel First kind of donors who wanted certain things. They were trying to prep or sweeten the pot for the administration to act when that ceasefire was out, and everybody felt that Israel had an opening to get what they wanted or to get closer to what they wanted, which is the Greater Israel Project. All right. And for people who think, oh, so it's all Netanyahu's coming here next week to talk about Turkey next. All right. Like, he's already sufficient. I'm not kidding. He's already sufficiently he's concluded that Trump, and I think he's right, Trump will give him the military action and backup, which includes defending the Israeli people, because Netanyahu does not care that the Iron Dome cannot defend the Israeli people from a real retaliation from Iran. See, everybody in the West thinks that Iran retaliated last time or was eviscerated by Israel. That's bullshit. The regime bides time. And they're not going to do anything stupid until they absolutely have to, until they conclude that whatever's coming their way this time is not only intended to, but could be successful in dethroning them as a regime. They, until now, which their assessment, what is Friday, 3 days ago, the Iranian regime's official assessment changed, which is that they believe the attack that is coming from the Trump administration, from the U.S., on behalf of Israel, is aimed at that and could possibly do it. Possibly. They feel because they have control of the institutions, it's not going to be that easy. And by the way, I don't think it will be. But this time there will be considerable retaliation. And that's what Trump's own assessments are telling him, which is why he pulled back the first time. He was going to do it, and Netanyahu basically was bullshitting him and said that they were prepared for the retaliation until some of Trump's people, I don't know what John Ratcliffe's doing. The guy is lying through his teeth every time he opens his mouth and gives an assessment. And I like John. I don't know what he's doing, but it's very disappointing. But anyway, some real assessments got to Trump and said, listen, Netanyahu's going to kill a lot of Israelis. And unless you're willing or able, which we were not at that moment, to shoot these missiles out of the sky ourselves, you can't do this right now. And hence the buildup. And here we are. All right. So that all happened and they're moving on to the next. I don't want to get derailed too much off of the Fed stuff here, but it is important to note who this guy is, where he comes from. This was a great article by Matt O'Brien written back in 2017, because this is one thing I want you guys to know. Before Trump picked Jerome Powell, which he keeps acting as if Joe Biden was responsible for Jerome Powell. He chose Jerome Powell, all right? Before he did, there was already a lot of the certainly neocon kind of, and also that wing of the party. I don't want to say the Chamber of Commerce wing. It's not enough. That old school, I'm trying to be very careful with my words, but in any event, it's worth going back and reading this article, because Kevin has a record in the recession and after the recession about what he thought was right, what were the lessons from the subprime mortgage crisis. If you asked me, and I literally told the administration this morning, if you asked me who is the worst pick for the America First movement out of these people, and it's a very short list of people that he was even considering, and I'll get to that in a second, I would have told you Warshiz. He doesn't have a MAGA fiber in his body. That's number one. He doesn't care or understand the plight of the working man and woman, the forgotten man and woman that Trump said he was going to be the champion of. All right. I'm going to play a clip in a second. Bear with me. All right. But this is worth going back and reading. This dates back to October of 2017, when they were already floating him and pushing him. And Trump looked at it and was like, are you serious? Like, he knows these people better than most. And he knows maybe he doesn't anymore. I don't know. But he did then. Knew what was and what isn't MAGA. And he passed on him many times. Because he's not MAGA, because he didn't think that he understood his vision. He didn't think that he understood what he was trying to do, how he was trying to reform the U.S. economy back more into a goods producing, more solid dollar manufacturing, construction, like that, that instead of just being a service sector fake economy. And he passed on him. And I think it's important to note what Mark said. Sorry, Mark, I'm butchering you right now. Mark Halperin said last night on his show and also on Twitter, which was like this really long and roundabout way of just not admitting what we all know to be true. All right. So let me get to, I just want to make sure because he updated the tweet. Is this it? Can I put this up? Boop. Nope, that's not it. Okay. Give me a second. I'll get it. I don't know why he just wouldn't say it out loud. I guess maybe he didn't want to, but whatever. Good for Mark for saying as much as he did, because I know he's not trying to burn some bridges here. And he says, it's kind of amazing. And I'm going to translate this for you in a second. It's kind of amazing that in a country this big, with someone as smart and well connected as Scott Bessent is, the Secretary of Treasury, right, leading the search that for a job he really cares about, the president is headed towards picking someone he passed over many months ago as part of the process of looking for a Powell replacement, even though back then many of his close friends strongly urged him to make him the pick. And Trump almost never doubles back and chooses someone he has passed over after deciding that that person was not who he wanted. This is really, really important because Mark is telling you the truth. Almost never. I would actually challenge people to go and find an instance when Trump did that. It's like never. And actually, again, that's not just Trump 2.0 administration that Wash's name had been thrown around. In the first administration, there were people who were lobbying for him. So what happened here? With Mr. Scott, with Secretary Scott Bessent leading the search, what happened? Well, we spoke to people in Treasury when we were in D.C. a couple of weeks ago. Nobody wanted this fucking job. Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it. The White House is finding themselves in a shrinking box, and they're going to have to make significant changes to get out of it. Contrary to what, the clapping seals and like the, self-serving people, like, dooming and blackpilling. Everybody is reading the handwriting on the wall, and nobody wants any part of a job like this at this point, even certain other positions. You know why Susie stays on at the White House? Not only because she does the job, and whether you agree with how she's doing the job is kind of irrelevant. She holds the ship together, but also nobody else wants to do it. That's just the truth. And I don't know what lying serves, or like sycophancy. Like, I never was a sycophant. Like, I just don't understand why Trump supporters like want to bury their heads in the sand and pretend like something's good when it's not good, or when something's right when it's not right. He's isolated himself from almost everybody on Capitol Hill. At some point, him and Mike Johnson won't even have a great working relationship. His own conference can't stand the White House. They just can't. And when you're talking about like picks like this, that's how it's done. You go around, you make sure that you have the support. Anyone that you nominate in the Senate, you confer with people in the House. Who do you think would be good? They're the House Republican members hate the people at the White House. Can't stand them. It's just true. They feel like they're mean to them, that they're and I'm not even talking about the schmucks. It seems like the schmucks are the ones who get rewarded. So they're in this like little box. I mean, this is not a great pick for MAGA guys. It's just not. There were some out of the box picks, and some of them just didn't want to be bothered. They did not want it. Why? Because they're looking to the future already. They're looking at the future. It's the truth. All right. Let's play this clip, and then we'll go on.
Quantitative easing is fundamentally different than cutting interest rates, and that it appears to be working through fundamentally different transmission channels. No longer credit channels and lending channels appear to be the dominant way in which it impacts the economy. It appears much more to be working itself through asset prices. Whether you think about housing stocks or financial stocks, I think that is the dominant channel. And as a first approximation, if 3/4 of our fellow citizens get 96% of their income from labor income, it strikes me we ought not be dismissive in saying, oh, everybody wins. When I look at the wealth creation across the financial asset world post-crisis, I view that wealth creation as being significantly above what my former colleagues predicted. When I look at what they expected in the real economy, I look at the real economic performance as markedly worse than they predicted. And so that's what I think raises these questions, makes them absolutely germane to today's discussion. And I very much do worry, as I'm sure many of the people in this room do, that we've created a product not with bad intent. We've created a product that may or may not turn out to be counterproductive. We are in the middle of this experiment as we are now, but where the gains have been extracted by the most well-to-do, by the most sophisticated, whose central banks are, to one degree or another, trying to get asset prices up to drag up the real economy. They get the joke. They have been willing to play the game. And it does strike me as though we have to think about not just the efficacy of these programs, but really who are the winners and the losers.
All right. And so that was from, and Geiger Capital shared that, by the way. I got to give him a hat tip on this. He called quantitative easing reverse Robin Hood. All right. And I mean, I think it's fair to say that he's a hawk. All right. But Trump's whole, well, at least it was, whole idea is to strengthen the dollar, reduce the trade deficit, reduce the debt, and that increases GDP, by the way. Simple methodology with how GDP works. And I just don't know if he understands what that policy would do. He loves to tout the market. Why am I not getting credit? Look at the stock market. I think you need to crash the market. I'm firmly in the camp that things have to break before you can really fix them, because it's just the situation we're in. But I just don't see how this is compatible. Listen, people have surprised people in the past. Maybe he will. I just don't think he comes from that same school and that same school of thought. I just don't. By the way, there aren't many of these people who come from that world where Trump came from, by the way, and become MAGA for a reason. Like, the system serves them. There's a reason why that system hates people like Donald Trump as much as it does when Trump does something as rare as what he did. He's a class betrayer. He's a class betrayer, and they never forgive that. And that's ultimately been one of Donald Trump's biggest problems, that he doesn't want to be seen that way. He wants to be popular, but he also wants to be the champion of the little guy, and you can't be both. And this has been, and I think, unfortunately, if it doesn't change, this will be the story of the Trump legacy, which is that you support, you nominate, you endorse, you help perpetuate the people who support the very system that you say you want to reform, decimate, take down, take on. You can't do that. And it's been a decade now of him doing it because he wants to play both sides, and then whining afterward about why it is that the system fucks him. Pardon my French. Pardon my language. Because you're helping to perpetuate it. So I would be much less surprised if Warsh ends up a disappointment to Donald Trump, even a thorn in his side, than I will be if he ends up being MAGA. All right. It's 2:34. Man, I really wanted this to show you, but without them finishing this, I can't do it. I would even do it live with you if by some miracle right now this popped up. I have the old data set, obviously. There's just no way I'm doing all that work again while I'm waiting for them to just restore it. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to redo these two data sets, and they're going to pop it back up, and it's going to be restored, and I'm going to have done it for nothing. All right. So that would really, really suck. So I don't want to do it if I don't have to. If it doesn't get restored, it's Friday already. I don't even know if they work on holidays. But if it doesn't get restored, I probably will have to do that just for our own frame of reference, because I'm trying to do something right now, which is basically showing long-term over. I'll give them all to you now. Overall, men, women, 18 to 29, 30 to 44, 45 to 64, 65 plus. Men, 18 to 29. Women, 18 to 29. Men, 30 to 44. Women, 30 to 44. Men, 45 to 64. Women, 45 to 64. Men, 65 plus. Women, 65 plus. White, Hispanic, Black, Asian, other, non-college men, non-college women, college men, college women, non-college white, non-college non-white, college white, college non-white, Northeast, Midwest, South, West, and we're probably even going to do divisions, census divisions. I may even do more, honestly, because we can, but I really think that the gender by age, or sex, I catch myself doing it all the time. Sex by age, or age by sex, whatever. It's actually sex by age with us. Really does tell the story. All right. And it makes me think back to Battleground Live with Sean Parnell. I think it was the first time I showed the one chart that we did was I think it was like an early October poll or something. Maybe it was September. Actually, I can look right now. It was data set. It was the episode. Let me go to, son of a gun. It's restored. What? No way. Yo. Yes. All right. Let me just refresh it so I make sure everything's good. It literally says restored registered voter data set, restored likely voter data set. That's awesome. It's in the wrong file, but that's okay. I'll move it over. This is incredible. I can't believe this happened. By the way, it was for September 2024. Went on to Parnell's Battleground Live, and we nested age with race, and we nested race by gender, by sex, I believe. And we were trying to show people. And remember, back then in the fall, people were still saying Trump's numbers with Hispanics aren't that high. His numbers with blacks aren't that high. This is a mirage of the poll, the way he conducts the poll. That was all bullshit. Of course, I was right. We know that now. And there was a huge difference with non-whites, especially with black voters. Which, when it comes to white voters, we have this huge gap between college and non-college. But in fact, with non-whites, specifically with black voters, that was not the case. Yeah, women, gender, that definitely threw some signal. Obviously, black women were less likely to support Donald Trump than black men, especially in certain states. But there was no difference in the support among black women, friends, or black voters overall, who had a college degree or didn't have a college degree. In fact, Republicans had been doing better when we looked in our research. Republicans had been doing better with black voters who were actually educated. And then when Trump came along, what happened is that he started to gain among non-college black voters, and he brought it to parity. That's where we're seeing some of the loss, and that's a big problem. And I don't want to give away so much of it here, but we're also seeing it with Hispanics. We're seeing non-college black women go back to the Democratic Party. Non-college Hispanic women go back to the Democratic Party. And for Republicans, this is catastrophic because they didn't get all of this vote to begin with in 24. Trump did. And again, I say this over and over again, but repetition, it's all about repetition, so it sinks into people's heads. If I say it one time, believe me, 99% of people will miss it. If I say it every time, every show, I'm much more likely to have other people, more people understand the Republican Party's main objective after Donald Trump was elected and they took tri-power was to convince these voters to vote for them when Trump is gone. That should have been their primary focus. And if they were a party who really cared about their voting base, they would have done that. Why? Because for the first time ever, an urban black guy in Toledo was completely in sync with a white working class woman from the Ohio River Valley. Trump started to bridge the urban-rural divide. He started to bridge the racial divide. Why does that matter? It leads to a more stable society. But instead, Republicans are posers. And unfortunately, the administration followed them instead of leading and having the party follow him. Remember, I said they have to convince voters that they are becoming more like Donald Trump, not that Donald Trump is becoming more like them. You can't objectively look at the administration from the spring, summer on and say that they have not gone off the path. All of these voters are not wrong because you want to be right. Those are the lessons Democrats, well, they're learning them now. I think they have quietly learned them, and they're luring Republicans into a trap. They are, and it's working. But for years, Democrats, they just went on with themselves. Cheated, abused the law, prosecuted political enemies, intimidated, used the FBI as their personal Stasi. They never admitted they did anything wrong. They never admitted that they were out of step. They never admitted that Americans didn't view transgenderism as a great example of this. Nobody viewed transgenderism as a civil rights issue. They viewed it as a mental health issue. And Democrats went way too far, but they never admitted it. They became the party of coastal elites. So when they lost the middle of the country, when they began losing as Teixeira And John Judith tried to tell them over and over again. They're Bible writers, the co-authors of the emerging Democratic majority, tried to tell them, you are losing not just non-college whites now, you are losing non-college non-whites. It's because you're too radical. Cut the Green New Deal shit. Cut the trans activism. Cut the wokeness. They didn't listen, and they paid a huge price for it. That's what Republicans are doing now. They're not listening. They've isolated themselves in the world of the donor class. The donors are getting everything they want. And the administration has not been focused on the domestic agenda or the forgotten man and woman since last summer. That's just a fact. The shutdown's going to happen again, guys. At least a partial shutdown is going to happen again. They are going to paint the Republican Party as the party that cannot govern. And they can't. And the reason they can't, they make great opposition, but they can't do shit when they're in power. And there's a simple reason. Sometimes we overthink this, but the simple reason is Republicans are cowards and they're corrupt. They don't believe what they say they believe. They're full of shit. That is not true of Democrats. Democrats will fight tooth and nail. How is it, and if you disagree with that, ask yourself this. How is it Democrats are going to gut DHS and have someone's head on a spike? I told you months ago they were coming for Kristi Noem. Nobody listened. Months ago. How is it they will gut DHS before Republicans get a single bit of accountability out of the FBI, an agency that not once, but twice staged a coup against a duly elected president? An agency that not that long ago, I was a young man, murdered 20 children in a single day, burned them alive. Plotted with unstable people the kidnapping of a friggin' Democratic governor just to frame a movement. An agency that nudged ostracized members of a nation to murder Malcolm X. An agency that let two men rot in prison to protect their corruption, and they're dealing with Whitey Bulger. We can just go on and on and on and on. This has been a rogue agency for decades. An agency that doesn't stop terror attacks because they're too busy instigating them against people like Pamela Geller. And because of a couple agitators in Minnesota, Democrats are going to get their way with DHS and ICE well before you ever get a shred of accountability out of the FBI. Dan Bongino will be on Sean Hannity talking about how dirty Crossfire Hurricane is until the guy is in a fucking wheelchair. It's so dirty, he quit. And the guy comes out and tries to bully other people for his failure. He's the personification of the administration's failure. He should have come out with a little bit of humility. But instead, he's on some like personal crusade of redemption. I don't know if that's redemption when he looks in the mirror or a redemption to save his contract with Rumble. You're losing. You're losing badly. And it's simple. Again, it's simple. And that's why Donald Trump was elected, because Republicans are crooks and they're cowards. Two things. The great Rush Limbaugh, I wish he was still here. He knew this better than anybody. They are crooks, and Donald Trump was supposed to be the voters' weapon against them. Even his own party. And instead, he is too concerned about being liked. Ted Cruz was just talking shit behind Donald Trump's... Again, by the way, for those of you who have been watching, you may remember me exposing Ted Cruz's little conversation with one of his donors after the 2020 election. This is a guy who routinely trashes Donald Trump to big donors. By the way, donors who are more interested in serving the interests of a foreign nation than they are about serving the interest of their own nation. He's just trashing the president and the vice president, trying to tell donors a story about why they're about to get their asses kicked in the November election coming up, preemptively trying to strike, preemptively trying to blame Trump and Vance for what we all really know, or what we all should know, is his wing of the party's fault. He lobbied for Netanyahu. He lobbied. He didn't give a shit about the needs of the voters of Texas. He already duped MAGA to vote for him again. He's safe for another 5 years. So he is free to serve his real master, which is the nation of Israel. It's just true. I'm just like tiptoe around this because they're afraid of you're afraid they're going to call you little names and shit. It's true. And he shit talks Trump behind his back. 24 hours later, after it becomes public, Trump talks about nominating him for the Supreme Court. It's not some 4D chess bullshit. Well, he's got this master plan to get rid of Ted Cruz in the Senate so we can replace him with someone MAGA. Shut the fuck up. He would nominate whoever Chris LaCivita and whoever Tony Fabrizio get the contract from. Shut the fuck up with the 4D chess. It's not true. Trump's endorsements don't come from people that he is like vetted as ultra MAGA and are going to be on his side. They come from whoever his consultants can sell to that campaign that with us comes the Trump endorsement. I'm sorry to break it to you, but that is the truth. It's pretty dirty. It has nothing to do with getting him out of the Senate. And even if it did, you want to elevate one of the biggest pieces of shit in the United States Senate to the U.S. Supreme Court? A man who over and over again has shown that he absolutely serves the needs of another nation over your own? Come on, man. Come on. I mean, it comes a point where, like, you know, you're going to lose badly. This is really bad. All right? Really bad. I don't know how else to say it. This is way worse than and here's the real problem with this. The malaise I see, and I was talking to Bannon about this earlier and showing him different numbers, which I'm saving, by the way. I'm saving for when they do strike at Iran. I'm saving them. I think I have sufficiently given them enough warning. They don't heed it. Like, a few more poll numbers are not going to matter. But we did some really, really neat analysis, and we have some really neat results about the percentage of MAGA who doesn't even identify as MAGA anymore because of this. And I'm saving it as a kind of, I don't know. Yes, probably for personal selfish reasons. I guess I don't really have a good reason other than I just want to show them afterwards, now you messed up real bad. Here's why. I think I've given them enough free advice and enough free polling to give them, you know, I'm allowed to do this one for me. Yeah, I mean, this is a guy, by the way, you want to see it on the Supreme Court, Ted Cruz, then instead of like wailing at a wall and asking Miriam Adelson what you could do for her lately, be serious about your call to impeach Judge Boasberg, who is still holding hearings, by the way, despite the ruling. He's just going about his business and doing what he wants. Get your ass as a United States Senator back to Capitol Hill and go lobby your friends across the Capitol. And make sure it gets done. Make sure the House moves. Do your job. Impeach the guy. I would tell fine. You want a seat in the Supreme Court when Judge Boasberg is gone, when he's impeached, Ted, then you can have a seat. That's what I would tell Trump if I was Trump. And I would probably be lying anyway, and I'd fuck him over because he's fucked over Trump 80 times. Here, Blondie, listen, we were just talking about, I was alluding to some research. Blondie, the H-1B visas, deeply, deeply damning. Deeply damning. That is up there. It's in the top 3 with the reasons cited by people who have checked out of MAGA. Do you remember when he was like, there are no talented people here? Like, we don't have talented people, he told Laura Ingraham. Do you remember that? Even I forget things sometimes, but the voters don't. That is cited a lot. That is like 3 key things. That's one of them. Rich, Frisco, Texas is now 33% Indians on HB1 visas, H-1B visas. And Sharia law cities have become a huge issue. As Attorney General, Ken Paxton had to know. Is he compromised by Jeff Rowe and Karl Rove in the Senate primary? Yeah, to some extent. And Ken, I'm sorry, but it's true. I'm sorry. I'm not going to. Like, you sat back while your friend got his ass kicked. You didn't help him get Donald Trump's endorsement. A good guy. Now, one of your political enemies is in Congress, and he's a piece of shit. And by the way, I believe Trump endorsed him. Actually, no, I don't believe it. He did. I don't believe he did. He endorsed him. He was one of Dade Phelan's right-hand men. And he moved on up to Congress to take over for Tarrant County. Unbelievable. The Dallas-Fort Worth area. Unbelievable. That's a great example, actually, Blondie. It's a great example. But Paxton's campaign is run by Axiom, Jeff Rowe's peeps. Although there has been like some, I don't know, that he sold some of his stake in it, but it doesn't matter. They're all rhinos. That's all the Karl Rove crew. They're the ones who whispered in DeSantis's ear and told him a fairy tale, told Steve Cortez a fairy tale, which ruined our friendship, by the way, because he didn't listen. And by the way, Steve, who was right? Just to make money, just so these people could stuff all that money. They didn't care what happened to Ron DeSantis's career. They didn't care that he's like radioactive for most of the party now. He's in second place, sure, in our polling. He's in second place. He's in 10%, 9%, 10% with likely voters. But it's a joke. Now, if Trump fails, I actually do think that Ron DeSantis has a real argument. If Trump continues to go down this, it continues to, like, if his legacy was to, if he was to stop being president right now, his legacy would be shredded. And if it by the time we get to the Republican nomination 3 years into this thing, if it's like this, I'll be honest. He's not going to care. I mean, I told the vice president to his face, you should stay out of it. Let Ron get killed. Let Rubio, if he was to run, get killed. If he was to get the nomination, just let somebody get destroyed in 28. And in 2032, the map will be extremely favorable to you because of the census changes. Electoral College is going to be running through the Sun Belt now, not the Rust Belt. And J.D. Vance is still the strongest candidate in the Rust Belt. So he might as well hang out and wait until 2032 if this is the way it's going to be. Because if he runs in 28 and it's like this, first of all, he's going to have a harder primary because Ron DeSantis is going to be able to say, I told you so. The guy's all talk. He's no action. I have a record in Florida of action. Even though he's got Ken Griffin bankrolling him, it doesn't matter anymore. Trump has let all of those same donors in now anyway, so it doesn't matter. That was Trump's biggest appeal, is that he could do whatever he wanted to do. He didn't need them. He's taking all of the money from these people. Adelson, $20 million for the PAC for, Thomas Massey. I had a lot of blood taken this morning, by the way. I should have told you that. So, like, a lot of blood. It's all fine. It's all good. There's nothing wrong. It wasn't for a bad thing. In fact, it was for a good thing. But will there be a book club Sunday? By the way, Blonde, I mean, that's the answer to that. Ken Paxton doesn't even own his own email list. They own everything related to Ken Paxton's campaign. I kid you not. Honestly, I think I would probably vote for Wesley Hunt. I don't know. I'd like to meet with Wesley Hunt. I've heard good things about him. Ken, I mean, I feel like lied to me about something. Um, John, sorry, buddy. I know you're probably listening too, but I mean, you want to call and make the case for him. You know, I'm always here for you, brother. I love you. But you sat right at that fucking table, John, and I asked him if that was true. He fucking lied. You lie to me one time, you're dead to me. You're dead to me. You tell a little fib because you can't tell me the whole story right then and there. Then, like, I even can understand that sometimes. But this was a very straight up yes or no. No. Man to man, too. I didn't ask what everyone's wives around. You know what I'm talking about, man. That was a man-to-man question. I expected the fucking truth. Obviously, he lied. Will there be a book club Sunday? I don't know. I guess that's weather depending how bad it is going to be here. I don't know. I got to run out and grab I got like a bunch of stuff. You know me. I got like 30, 34, no, 32, 64, 96. I have 100 and something years worth of food because I don't know how much is left in one of the things. Maybe I shouldn't advertise that in case the zombie apocalypse happens. Everyone's going to try to come to my damn house. But I also have a huge generator. So even if power goes out, I could still be making good dinners. So I got the boys and I want them to eat good, better than what I think I have here. So I'm going to go out and probably run to Publix and see if I can't get maybe some pinwheels or something. I want, I don't want them to be too bored. Yesterday we had fun. There was a new survival kit thing that we got. And, before emergencies, I always take the smaller packs. There's always, I don't want to say samples, but they're like 3-day kits or 24-hour kits or whatever it may be. And I'm very familiar with like 4 Patriots. I love 4 Patriots. Patriot Supply I'm less familiar with, but I'm willing to give them a shot. But this was something else, and we were kind of having fun. Like, let's prep in case the storm's bad. We have a bunch of this stuff, and we want to eat it. And we wanted to like cook it to be familiar with how this one works. And it was fun, and I could do that again. I just have fun with it, make it, a more interesting thing to do. But I really wanted to have like a real dinner. I was thinking of making, like, I don't know, an Alfredo or something for them. I know they like that. I don't know. I'm going to probably have salmon or something. I have to watch my diet, but yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Oh God, what am I gonna do? Not going to the gym for 2 days. What am I gonna do? Oh my God. Bust out the Bowflex? I guess I could do that. It's just that Bowflex is not gonna do anything for me anymore. Not with what I'm putting up. I mean, it would be like okay for like ab crunches and stuff and trying to get rid of the fat belly. That will definitely help. But as far as like benching and stuff, I could bench the Bowflex. Maybe that'll do something. But the resistance training is just I've grown up beyond that now. Those are good though. Those are all good comments. What else? Oh, right. Real quick, because I know it's 3:01. Let's take a look. I just don't want to show anybody's personal stuff. Where does it say it's restored? Here it is. Okay. Let me stick it back into the 2026. You're telling me it's not in the 26 folder though? Wait a minute. It's in there. So there's a restored folder. Hey, try to click on those links, guys. Let me see something. Let's go to the links. Please tell me this works. This is not working. Okay, let me go to the data set. I'm going to have to change the interactive link, I think, okay? Here is the likely voters. Damn, but at least I'm going to be able to get this chart out. I'll do it tonight when I get back. Not even tonight. I'll do it when I get back from the store. Okay, let me share another link. Export, share, email link. I'm going to do it to myself personally, but then also give a public link for you guys. Semicolon, public. Okay. So this is the one for the generic ballot and the nominations. Let's go back to that email. We stand with ICE. Okay, good. Man, the bullshit from right-wing email lists is just... Lila, I'm pro-life, but I'm not fucking responding to your thing, dude. You know, when was the last time you did anything like important or forget about important? When was the last time you did anything effective? How much money is the pro-life movement raised and spent on their posh parties, and they haven't done shit? They were more effective when they sat outside of abortion clinics. Like, they were more, like, you could tell they were like more believers. Like, I'm willing to go crazy over this. Not anymore. All right. Now that I resent that link, is it the same link or no? It's not. Okay. So let me make sure this link works. Link work. Yes. All right. I'll have to re-up the link. Let me go to Big Data Poll. I got to log in here, guys. And then we'll go through and I'll show you just a few before we get off. I'll show you just a few on the change. And I put like dummy in there. I think 42, default 42% or something, just to show the swing. But unlike everybody else, we pulled Trump's retrospective approval rating before the election and when he was being inaugurated and after. So we don't have to do the apples to oranges bullshit comparison between his vote share in 24 and his approval rating, which is not the same thing. His approval rating, when he won by, you know, the popular vote by a little over 1 point, a little less, should have been 2, but whatever. When he did, he had an approval of 7.4. So it's not the same thing. And we can even give you estimated vote shares if he was to run again based on that. It's really cool, but bear with me on this. Let me go to blog. I've got to change the link. And I've got to change the link in the data wrapper, right? Yes. Okay. So for generic ballot, where are you? Where are you? There you are. Oh, that's not right. It's the new generic ballot graphic. That's what I got to change the link for. Yeah, there we go. All right. And now in the Democrats solidify lead, and I'll have to change the Trump approval one too for register voters. Bear with me. Bear with me. All right. Down to the market site link. Let's change that. Boom. Yeah, it's a different link. I'm opening it in a new tab. I always do that. So if you click on the market site links, it'll open in a new tab always. This way you don't lose your page. All right, generic ballot, likely voters. Just make sure I got the right cross tab. I do. All right, and voila, guys, fixed. So if you go back to the, let me just start this. If you go back to the page now and you try to click on the cross tabs, they're right, okay? And I got to tell Decision Desk, they were like, oh man, let us know. They wanted to go through the cross tabs and like mark some stuff, you know, like do what I do, which is archive what we found, certain things with demographics. I got to tell them that that's up now. All right, it's good. So if you go back to Big Data Poll, that's done. And let me just go to the register voter data set. I want to do the same thing with that. And we'll have to change Trump's. Yeah, we'll have to change Trump's 1 year approval rating. That link has to be changed. Okay. Yeah, that kind of stinks that the links themselves weren't restored, but as long as the data sets and I don't have to do this again, it's a win for me. I can email myself a new link, no problem. That's fine. And you guys. All right, this is one for you, Publix. Like the store, but not. All right, this is the public link. Come on, come on. All right, refresh. It should be there. Yeah, let me get rid of this. Refresh. And this is the one I'm concerned about anyway. This will show the approval rating. Come on, guys. Refresh. Let's go. Junk. Trash. Empty. Delete the junk folder. There we go. Come on. Go through. This is the register voter. I'm waiting on it. There it is. All right. Let me change it in the Where was Trump's approval? Where is it? Where is it? What would we use for that chart? We used a overall plus the issues. Okay. Back to archive. That is, I can't tell. Can't really tell, honestly. There's so many charts. Come on, guys. Go back to archive. And this is it. Edited 3 days ago. Good. All right. So in a second, the chart's going to have its new link in it because that's not working either. So we'll have to add this new crosstab. Boom. And republish. Okay, the chart works. And the link at the bottom of the page I'll fix in a second. Yep, that one's new. Good. Excellent. 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 Edit this. Okay. And we are done. Right? Is that opening in a new tab? Yeah, it is. Okay. All right. There we go. All's fixed. Sorry. Apologize for the inconvenience. Excellent. It's back. I got to tell Decision Desk that after the show. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So now we're up. Now let me share this with you because we're going to go over it. I will make sure I got the right one. Okay. I'm going to show you the back of the screen so you can see what it is I'm doing. Share screen, Trump's approval, net approval, shift. Okay. So if I go to the data set for the 2024 public polling project, we can go to the final poll, November 1st, collection date, I think it was October 28th to November 1st, final poll. November 3rd, sorry, actually it's October 30th to November 3rd. I need to change that. Is that anywhere on the, just in the date of the data set? Okay. Monday. So it was Sunday, right? Yeah, Sunday. I had it for Monday. Okay. All right. So Sunday, November 3rd to now. This is what you're going to see, something along the lines of this. All right. And the top one's going to be overall. So it'll always be to the left of the screen a little bit. But if I take the new poll, that's the likely voter one. This is the new registered voter, correct? Yeah. Okay, the other likely voters for the generic ballot. All right. So, for instance, we're going to do men, women. There's a lot more that's going to be on there. I just didn't want to throw it all on there yet. So let me just do 18 to 29. We'll do the actual age, regular age for approve, disapprove. 45.1. Okay. So we'll go back to check and describe. All right. 45.1. So the net there, 965, right? You're looking at a negative 5.9 swing. That's not terrible, honestly. Right? Am I doing that right? Yeah, I am. Okay, 30 to 44. It is worse with likely voters, and it is likely voter to likely vote. I'll have to put that in the chart because it is worse with likely voters, but 45.8. That was actually pretty close. All right. So why is it red? Shouldn't be, but whatever. 6 before 7.2, 7.4. So anyway, what is this going to do? It's going to make it look something like this. All right. And now that we have the real ones, I don't know why it's only showing you. Let me see. I could show the difference, which is cool. We'll always tell you the swing, but I figured I'd just tell you both so it could show you where it is. Everyone can kind of, it's easy to, I'm doing it in my head right now. I mean, it's pretty simple to just do in your head and you'll get the gist. When we break it down by gender, you'll really start to see the big difference. 43 is 44.1. I was pretty glad I gave him too much credit on some of these. 44.1. So that's going to be like 14. So, oh, that's pretty ugly. 6 be A be 10 minus this 3. So it'd be like 9.7. And I'll go back and check this. I'm doing this stuff in my head right now, but it's right. All right. and 65 plus, which was that he had an issue with them before, and now it's 45.1. And I'm going to have to, that was pretty close actually. 5. Okay. So it'll look something like this. And I'm going to go all the way down the line, like all the way down the line. And we're going to do as much as, I'll show you right now. Let me just, I should have copied these when I did it. But let me see if I can do a copy and net shift. Come on, copy it. It may not work like this. Sometimes a bit of a pain in the butt. Kind of. I mean, it worked. What's the issue? There's a dot after one of them. Oh, that's why it's making that. Okay. That's why it's red. There's a period. A decimal. All right. And now let's take the net shifts. We'll do this. I'm putting it into another sheet you can't see, but okay. So, I feel like I kind of did something. No, maybe not. All right. So now that I have it here, let's take it all. And eventually, this is what you're going to see. Boop. I know this part's kind of boring, but bear with me. And you'll see all of this. And I'm going to wind up putting this on locals. And you guys will be able to see how much he shipped. This is apples to apples, not the bullshit that you keep seeing on X when people are, well, his approval's here and his vote share among this group was here. That's bullshit. His approval was 7.4% when he beat Kamala Harris. In fact, I'm going to show that to you right now. Okay. Remove. Stop. I got to stop the screen share. There it is. This is the old cross tab, October 30th to November 3rd. All right. Sunday, November 3rd. This is the final national poll for 2024. Here is Trump's approval rating. Where's Trump's approval rating? There it is. Trump, Harris, all of them. Biden, you name it. His retrospective approval rating was what? 53.3 or 52.3, excuse me. And his disapprove was only 45 flat, actually. All right. So he was plus 7.3. What did I have? 7.4? I might have to change that. Yep. He was plus 7.4. So now he is negative 14. It's a net swing of 14.5. Oh, that's why it's a swing like that. I could give this to you two ways. I just realized that. I could give you the positive to positive, like overall approved was 7.4, 7.3. Now it's negative 7.1. So it's a net shift of 14.4. Or I could give you what it was and how much support he's lost. Maybe I'll do both. I'll do both just so you guys can see it. And I was thinking of actually writing an article about it. Like, how much has Trump really lost in capital? Because again, there's apples to apples, there's apples to oranges. The left did this in 24. And I was arguing back then. I did shows on it that you can't do that. You're comparing polling on what the exit polls showed Biden won among, for instance, college-educated whites. They're comparing the Marist poll, what Marist is finding for Harris among college-educated whites, to exit polls and pre-election polls. And this, it was just bullshit. Bullshit apples to oranges. If those polls were right to begin with, maybe then you could do it. What the New York Times did do in their article is the best that they could do for themselves. They were wrong, but at least they're comparing themselves to themselves. Unfortunately, they were doing a little bit of twist there. I wish Nate would have just did the retrospective approval like we did. And that would really be apples to apples. But at least they compared it to themselves. Instead of saying, well, the voter analysis showed. Well, that's bullshit. That's not how it's done. All right, it's 3:17. I'm going to have to go get my little booger in a little bit. But as soon as I do, I'm going to grab them, go run whatever I got to do. And then I'm going to work on this now that this is back up, because I think it's probably going to be the most important chart we're going to look at in a long time. It'll tell you what I guess I'm not able to convey with language here, or haven't been. I've been unsuccessful in conveying with language what Trump's problem has been. And when you see where he did lose these groups, and it's funny, you look at some educated voters and you're like, well, he's actually doing better, right? But they're not going to vote Republican. They're only saying they somewhat approve of him now because he's doing stuff that makes the base recoil, or at least the part of the base that you need to come out in order to win elections. I guess I hate to say it, but there are more voters. There are certain voters who are more important than others. There are certain voters that are just always going to vote for you, and that's it. They're not who matters. Sorry. It's just a brutal reality. It's just brutally honest here. The voter who matters is the one that you are winning that nobody else could win. And they put you over. Keeping them happy is very important. The other guys are going to be happy no matter what. It doesn't matter. The people you just added to the coalition, they matter more. I'm sorry. Or you could lose. I mean, those are your two choices. There's no one, this is politics. It's a zero-sum game. There's no other choice. There's no plans. There's no door C. And I think, I mean, like if we had like mixed results in 25 and mixed results in even the few elections we've had in 26, then I could see there being an argument. But we're not looking at mixed results. That is not what we've been presented with. Overwhelmingly negative results for Republicans. They failed to bring these people into the coalition. And it's not just because they're lower propensity. They're unhappy. Which actually brings me, while I have a few minutes, it just means I'll have to read it basically verbatim. But it brings me to this thing I just want to bring up. Dave over at Interactive Polls had published this about Pew, and people went nuts. And they were like, oh, yeah, who are these people who suddenly hate Trump, who are Republicans? And they just magically appeared. No. First of all, if you were paying attention, you'd know exactly who they are. Number two, they didn't just magically appear. But since I'm in the interest of time here, I'm just going to regurgitate what I wrote and then try to explain it a little better. Obviously, his approval is not in the 30s. This is Dave over at Interactive. This is what look at these demographics. I mean, they're just a little bit ridiculous. Hispanic, 26 to 71. Give me a fucking break. Guys in the 30s, sure. 26, I'll show you exactly. And this is the telltale. High school or less, 41 to 57, without breaking apart white and non-white. High school or less, like we do. Look at college grad, by the way. It's about where it was. Post grad is now back to Biden levels, but college grad, about where it is. He's actually doing a little bit better with people who have a college degree than we would expect, considering the drop among other groups. This is the chart that everyone had like an angina attack over, right? Like all of a sudden, these Republicans say this. This isn't all of a sudden. This is not all of a sudden. This happened over time, and we discussed it as it was happening. You didn't pay attention. So, look, people who keep claiming these Republicans do not exist are foolish and wrong. It's sorry to be harsh, but it's just true. They do exist, and they didn't just magically appear. They've been accumulating since the Epstein debacle. All right? They never cared to make Iran great again. They couldn't stomach the flip-flop on H-1B visas, which, by the way, Blondie, great question, by the way. That's why I was kind of like tiptoeing to this. Or selling citizenship with Trump gold cards, and they won't defend the indefensible in such as pardons. These are only a few of the many issues, by the way, I just limited to some of the bigger ones that we have discussed over the last year. The impact is overstated in this poll. To be sure it is. And I'm about to tell you why and how, but it shouldn't be ignored. We have been seeing a good deal of prior Republicans. That's what they're calling the voter file vendors, prior or previous Republicans. ID now as as independents during interviews. The reason it's exaggerated in the Pew survey is because the panelists were provided by the America Trends panel, and it's all adults. There's no data appending to the voter file, and they are not obtaining responses for a sample that accurately reflect an electorate. Not that they don't accurately reflect the adult population, they do, but they don't accurately reflect the electorate that, like, for instance, that elected Trump in 24. These are adults who, last year, actually were more Trumpy than the general electorate. Now, here is the danger. Here is the concerning thing for Republicans. These were people that we called a year ago targets for Republicans. They were low-hanging fruit. Go get them. They're more Trumpy than the electorate overall, but they're also the most volatile. And right now, they're the most angry with him at the moment. They're lower prop. They have less party loyalty, less strictness to their party, and they are not happy. Think about, folks, and this one, I mean, if you watch the show, you should know these voters, exactly who I'm talking about. Think the educated female vote who had less vote history, who voted for Trump in 24, not just non-college. I'm talking about even college educated females, white females particularly, and there were just more of them, but he did even better with non-whites. But it's not that Trump convinced all of these like college educated women who voted for Biden and now vote for him. He did convince a bunch of them, mostly 80s and 90s babies. We talked about this, but it was also that more so actually, that he brought out these voters who typically are in a higher propensity vote demographic, but don't vote or have much less vote history. They are the larger driver behind Trump improving with that demographic in 24. That absolutely explains the higher negatives among Republicans compared, juxtaposed, whatever, to the other polls like ours, which also reflect that dissatisfaction. But now it's partially reflected in the independent subgroup, not in the Republican subgroup. And we can see that there are not so significant percentage of newer registered Republicans who call themselves independent now when you interview them, expressing disapproval and negativity on just about everything. Most other pollsters, and here's the issue, and including Pew, they didn't do it either. They do not spend the money, and they will never see all of these caveats. What are they not spending the money on? The extra data appends and the deduping. Pew is not saying, what's your address? What's your birthday? What's this? They're giving them a fucking gift polls. Read methodology. That's what the AFT panel, the AT panel does. Or the ATP, the ATP panel. That's what they do. They're not data appending to the voter file to see any other information about these respondents like we do. If I showed you a spreadsheet, a data spreadsheet from our polls right now, you would see that there is an identifier, two of them actually. There's birthday, street address. There can also be email address if you have it, but you don't always have that on record for voters, all right? So you're connecting two or more data points to data append to the responses that you get to make sure that you are looking at that voter and who they are. And from there, you can augment the data set. You can include things like their education level, what's their actual party registration versus what they told you when you were interviewing them. And that's the kicker here. They're not seeing this difference. They're not. And they're getting the lower prop, the lower interest voter to reply. And those Republicans are going to have a higher dissatisfaction. They are, but they don't represent the electorate of Republicans. It doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm just telling you how Pew got to 37. Most other pollsters will not spend this money to do that. They'll never see all the caveats. And if you simply take these responses that you get from them and then you weight it as if you're representing an actual electorate, you'll overstate them compared to more reliable partisans, and Trump will drop in the 30s. It's not representative and the impact is exaggerated, but the sentiment is real. I hope I explained that correctly, okay? And I don't know if they're doing that shit on purpose, guys. I don't know. Pew Research used to long argue that you have to have live caller. You got to have live caller. Fox News, same shit. It seems like everybody's changing their methodology now to make Trump look worse than he is. And I'm not defending Trump. I'm defending the polling industry from scumbags who are doing this shit. Fox News has now removed the unsure to approval polls and everything else. Yet they claim it's on the questionnaire. Folks, it's statistically impossible to have a fucking 0 for unsure. Never met a pollster like me. You're damn right. I'm not your typical pollster. I'm not going to sit here with my little nerd glasses on and tell you. And I used to wear glasses myself, but I still am not going to sit here like Poindexter and bullshit. It is impossible. Impossible for 2,000 people to be interviewed and not a single person says they're unsure. Impossible. C'était impossible. Bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Murdoch Inc., by the way, just how you knew their poll was bullshit. They just happen to be the only pollster who showed an equitable balance. Trump is balancing foreign and domestic just about right. Yeah, okay. I'm wrong. The Wall Street Journal, Tony, you ripped off my question. They're wrong. CBS News, they're wrong, even though they do the same thing too. Remove onshore. Give me a break. Fox wants a war with Iran. They fudged those numbers. I'm saying it out loud. Fox wants a war with Iran, so they fudged those numbers. Because Fox is filled with a bunch of neocon war whores, and they have never been conservative. They're a bunch of scumbags who cheat on their wives and husbands all day in the newsroom. There's fucking sexcapades over there. And if you're pretty and you want to be on TV, you have to do something for the old crusty fucking white dude on the top floor. They're not conservative. They're disgusting. They're not trustworthy at all. That's Karl Rove, his little bitch, and John Kerry's pollster. You break. Joe Biden leads in rural America while Donald Trump leads by 2 in urban America. Fox News polls. What? Yeah, okay. All right, so with that in mind, nothing but, ooh, look at that. Super, super easy to turn this into a podcast now. I know, I'm going to have to do that, guys. All right, let me go get my little man. It's 3:20. Yeah, it is. It's 3:30. Let me go get my little man. Locals, keep an eye out. Obviously, I'll throw it to you guys first, and then eventually we'll put it out there. Like I said, I think I want to write an article, so I'll do both charts. I'll do the net difference in the spread, and then we will do the net difference in levels. All right. So, for instance, if Trump was positive 7.4 and now he's negative 7.1, it's a 14.5 net swing. But if he was positive 56.5 with men and now he's positive 50, we'll show a difference of 6.5 points. All right. Now the net swing is going to be different because the net overall is like men are. Okay, let me find it right now and I'll give it to you. Men were 56.5% approved, and they were 41.8% disapproved. So, cute little thing here. So you're looking at like a net swing. That's just sucks. So he was positive. Let me just do this. Positive plus. Now he's negative a year. That's like a negative 21.6 swing. That's not good. I mean, that's a net negative 21 over 21 point swing. So we'll start with that one, and then we'll do the change in actual levels because he's still positive with men. I mean, that's a great. The Pew Research poll is like ridiculous. It's just that Trump had basically not erased the gender gap in 24, but man, it was as small as we had seen since I believe 1988. I think so. It was really close, guys. Really close. If you look at some of those age demos, it's very interesting. Trump even won women 40 to 64, which has been a difficult demographic for Republicans as of late. He won men everywhere, even 18 to 29. He won men. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. But he did lose women 18 to 29 since they make up a little bit more of that demographic. It gave Harris a tiny little lead with them, I believe. I'd have to go back and make sure. But man, close race. I mean, man, very close margin with that group. All right. So yeah, that's it. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and to share them far and wide. Keep your eye out for that. I'll get that out ASAP. I know we're a bit behind on Craze. Are we having a book club Sunday? That will depend on the weather and like what's going on. But I promise I'll let you know as soon as I do know. They keep changing the forecast. Saturday is going to be the worst. Sunday is going to be worse. I just don't know. I don't know who to believe anymore. So we'll see. I can tell you, if you guys want to see something cool, and I know I got to go here. I'm going to get yelled at. My son, my little son, and my other son, I told him he could take the car and go get him. But I wanted to beat them. We are in the worst of it. So, you know me and my models. All right. This did get better. This is Jacksonville, Greenville. For a hot second there, we were in this. Now this is only like Poplar Beach and Corolla. We're actually much more further down here, but nevertheless, we're still in the 8 inches. And where Laura is, she is up higher. Yeah, 8 inches. I don't know if we'll actually get that. We'll see. And that's based on, I love these models, man. I absolutely love these models. You can change it to Sunday. New forecast is available. Oh, good. Yes. Let's get the new forecast. Oh, yeah. Oh, that moved west to me. Fuck. Sorry. Of course it did. We're closer to 12. I don't know. I mean, because we stretch all the way down here to, let's call it 8 to 12. And what about wifey? Yeah, she could get a little less. It's borderline. I don't know. It's coming home. That sucks. It's going to be coming home. She'll be like tucked into the center and good to go once it starts. At least I hope. But yeah. Again, the big problem with these southern states is that they're just not prepared for this. If you're from New England or the Mid-Atlantic, like I am from the Mid-Atlantic, originally, this really wouldn't be much of anything. And the guys would be in the middle of the night on Saturday night with the plows behind them. The township vehicles would be throwing the salt. I mean, we'd have it. We'd handle it. They can't handle it here. They can't. They fold like cheap suits, and I don't blame them. It's not something they spend the resources on because it's not something that they need all the time, All right, guys. If you're in the area, I hope you obviously have taken care of the things that you need and you stay safe. I feel really bad for some of the people who are in like Georgia and I guess they're going to start to get hit here soon, but look at Nashville. Thank God they weren't getting that bad. It's going to be very cold, though. The issue with that is they've already been hit, and they're still like, look, man, blue areas are just incompetent. There's still, as of last night, there was still 70,000 people without power in Nashville, even though the surrounding counties, by a percentage of the population, they were way better off with less resources, less revenue, right? So sad. The blue areas are always the most incompetent, but that's, you get what you vote for. You know what I mean, guys? You get what you vote for. Yeah, that is what happened. By the way, I saw your comment. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to get going. I got to make sure we're all ready to go. I hope you guys do too. Stay safe. Hope you enjoy the weekend. Keep your eye out for the stuff that I'm going to throw up. I think it's going to be really cool. I think you'll enjoy it. And don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and to share them far and wide. Instagram. Don't forget the gram. Don't forget the gram. I don't push it. My daughter's getting pissed. She's like, dude, you got to push the gram. She don't say dude. She says father, which I love. You have to push the gram. So do me a favor and follow on the gram and push the gram. The link is in the description. Of course, the best place to follow is right here below, not just the description. I'm saying like this right here. Locals. Peoplespundit.locals.com. Peoplespundit.locals.com. one last time, and then I'm going to kick rocks, I promise. Don't forget to check your donor dashboard on Big Data Poll if you're a contributor to the Public Polling Project. Make sure that you are not, if you did not want to give recurring contributions, make sure that is not selected on your profile and go unselect it. If you are and you did want to, make sure that you're giving it to the correct fundraising campaign. All right. So it should be first quarter 2026 national polls, or national polls Q1 2026. So you'll know what I mean. You'll see. If you have to, delete the old contribution and then put it back up on the other one. But everyone's got a donor dashboard. Even if you don't know the password, if you have contributed, then you put your email in, you can reset it, super easy. You got every tool at your disposal there. All right. So just check on. I want to make sure you guys are not giving too much if you don't intend to. And then if you do, giving to the right spot. All right, guys. And that's it. That's a wrap for me. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Locals, I'll see you soon. Maybe we'll go build a snowman later. All right. All the best. Yeah, man, we're definitely, it'd probably be tomorrow though, locals. I think tonight and then 6 a.m. it's going to get real bad. You know I'm going to play video, baby. You know I'm going to play some video with the snow. That's what wool coats are for.